Hey everyone, and welcome to Rock Video Rental. I am Braden. With me, as always, is Caleb, and we are continuing on with Horror Movie Month. We're going to be talking about a movie that maybe not a lot of people are aware of, doesn't get talked about a whole heck of a lot, and that is Killer Party. Before we get to that, Caleb, have you watched anything good?
Nothing really new, but I did wind up finally getting through the first season of the JJK anime, the Jujutsu Kaisen, I believe it's pronounced.
Rock?
So I finished that. It had 24 episodes. Took me long enough. Um, but good show. I enjoyed it. My coworker who recommended it to me said if you enjoyed the first season, then you're probably really going to enjoy the second. I don't know exactly when I'm going to start it yet, though, just because I really like to be able to sit down and focus on getting through animes, so that
Mm-hmm.
there's not a lot of time in between because I feel like they're really easy to get confused and lose where you're at and all that. So
Yeah.
yeah. Besides that, I mean, Bob's Burgers, nothing new to say there. So I will say that there's a very good chance that next week I probably will not have much to share because I will be out of town. So
Rock?
I mean, not that I exactly bring the most content. So,
Yeah.
but what about you?
I actually don't have a whole heck of a lot either. We've been going through and rewatching Shameless. It's been
Rock?
a year or so, maybe 2 years since I watched that. So yeah, I don't know, good show. Um, completely ridiculous at times, but it's super funny, and they have like some serious stuff sprinkled in there, so to kind of reel it in a little bit. But yeah, it's a funny show. And then I watched the latest um Dark Side of the Ring, which is about the Sheik.
Hmm.
And it's kind of weird because it came out like a few days after the Sheik's nephew, Sabu, died.
Um,
Kind of famous hardcore wrestler. But yeah, it showed like some interesting stuff. Like, because the Sheik was like one of the first hardcore wrestlers, like back in the 50s, where, you know, cutting people and throwing fire and hitting people with chairs and all that kind of stuff. Um, and he also used to live in Williamston
oh, what?
and had a massive mansion built. They had like a sauna and an inside pool and all that kind of stuff. Uh, but yeah, he was like the promoter. So back before like WWF took everything over, they had different territories
Okay.
where different promotions basically ran certain areas. Like WWF took care of like like Massachusetts, Connecticut, New York area, and then big time wrestling kind of covered Michigan and part of Ohio and things like that.
Okay.
And the Sheik was in charge of big time wrestling.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and he trained Sabu and Rob Van Dam and a few other guys. But yeah, that was kind of a interesting episode, and some backstory on his life and all that. But that is pretty much all I watched. I literally cannot think of anything else that I watched. But I did watch Killer Party, so let's talk about that.
We've been waiting for this day to come along for so long. We have finally found a place where we belong. We can't go wrong. Now we're on our own, letting our feelings show.
Killer Party, it is from 1986 and is directed by William Fruet. Fruet? I think it's Fruet. The plot is in order to join a sorority, three friends go to a hazing party in an old house where a sadistic, bloodthirsty, demonic spirit is lying in wait. The cast, we got Martin Hewitt as Blake, Ralph Seymour as Martin, Elaine Wilkes as Phoebe, Sherry Willis Birch as Vivia, and Joanna Johnson as Jennifer. I believe it's the third time watch for me.
Rock.
First time was probably like, man, 8 years ago or more.
Okay.
And then I watched it a few years ago, and then this last time. So, I first became aware of this movie when I saw the poster.
Okay.
I think it was on IMDb or something. I don't know, but kind of a memorable poster. It's like a woman with a blue dress, and it's like being unzipped by a guy in a white suit, and the guy's hand is like a skeleton hand.
Yeah.
And it says Killer Party on it in red.
I feel like that symbolizes so many, I want to say maybe 90s. Like I remember going to the bookstore. I feel like this was a bookstore thing and not so much a movie, like the movie rental place. Um, but a lot of those like horror books, and they would have something that looked exactly like that. Like one person was a skeleton doing something like opening a door or holding a knife or unzipping
Yeah,
someone's dress, or like I feel like there used to be so many images that used that. I don't know, I guess you would call it like a cliche at the time.
yeah. It's yeah, like going to a movie rental place and seeing VHS covers. Um, I don't ever remember seeing this one, but I do remember seeing Cheerleader Camp.
Okay, I know it's kind of the same thing.
It's a cheerleader jumping up in the air, and she has a skeleton face.
Okay.
And then another one I remember, Evil Dead 2
Hmm.
with the skull
Oh
on
yeah,
the
and the
front of
eye.
it. Yep, in the eye. Dead Alive is another one too, where it's like a mouth and someone's pulling it open, and inside is like this little skull.
Okay.
That is a wacky movie we may have to watch sometime. Um, oh, and the other one is Slaughter High that I remember, which is also another April Fool's Day movie,
Okay.
and that was a skeleton holding onto an apple that's a bomb, and he has a graduation hat on.
Nice. Yeah, I feel like I probably have more of a relation with it with books because I never really explored when I was young. I never really explored the horror genre at the movie
Yeah.
store. But when we would go to the bookstore, I'd walk through the whole bookstore, and so like yeah, I go up like the nonfiction. I'd go through the music section. I'd go through there'd be the romance section, there'd be the horror section, the mystery section, and so I just if for whatever reason it was kind of seared into my mind that a lot of those books when I was young, which would have been like,
Hmm.
early 90s, had images that looked almost identical to this movie poster.
Yeah, I think I'm in a group in uh Facebook that's just all about 80s and 90s horror novel covers.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's quite a few amazing ones. I've got this one. It's got like a close up of a guy's eye, and then there's a reflection of a boy and a girl on it.
Hmm.
It's called Prey, I believe.
Okay.
But yeah, I haven't read it yet. But yeah, awesome cover for that. But
Should we
yeah,
start
this
by talking
is
about how this movie began?
yeah.
Because it
um,
was I was confused.
mhm.
Did it technically start with a horror movie inside of a horror movie inside of a horror movie?
Yeah, pretty much. Or reception.
Yeah, I guess like because at first when they first did it, where they started off with the horror movie and then they had the people at the drive-in watching it, I was like,
Yeah.
okay, here we go. but then all of a sudden that ended, and then it was like the intro to the movie, and then the movie just started. Like am I missing something? Did that intro have anything to do with the actual movie?
No, not really.
Okay.
Yeah, I wonder if that was just something they added because it really doesn't make sense for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, no, it does. It's, I don't know. I was bouncing around ideas in my head on being like, well, maybe they were trying to go a couple different directions at the beginning, and then they just had extra content that they wanted to use. It it confused me so much until you started hanging out with Phoebe, uh, Viva, and Vivia and Jennifer. And
Jennifer. Yeah.
once you like focus on them, and it was like, I don't know, 15 minutes of just them, I was like, okay, like we're actually in the movie now. I have a better understanding of what's happening.
Yeah, that's a I find it weird, like it goes from that to, the three girls and like trying to join a sorority. Also what I find weird about this movie is that it's really like the tone is like all over the place at
Hmm.
times,
Yeah.
where it's like this feels like a comedy, like an 80s college comedy
Hmm.
at times, and like fraternity sorority hijinks, and then it turns into like a slasher movie.
Yeah. Almost like a Animal House type movie turned
Yeah.
slasher.
Yeah, and then it turns into a slasher movie, and then it turns into like a weird, like Evil Dead Exorcist ripoff.
Yeah. No, dude, I was not expecting that. I mean, I knew well along that there was like something bad about the house and everything,
Yeah.
but I didn't expect the full on exorcist um type killer thing.
Hmm.
So that was a little bit of a surprise for me at the end. I mean, the fact that it was Jennifer wasn't really a surprise, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, she had like some visions or something earlier in the movie that kind of led towards that. Um, yeah, this movie, like the first time I saw it, I did not, like you said, you did not see the ending coming. Yeah, I did not see that coming either. I thought this was going to be a run of the mill, by the numbers, formulaic slasher movie where it's like, oh, something happens, to someone, a guy dies or something, or he's like
She's
mutilated,
she's
and
related
then
to him or something.
yeah, or then like 10 to 15 years later goes by, and then a guy comes back and starts killing people at a party.
Yeah.
Your typical. I always joke, like, especially in my blog, it's like the magic number of 10 years later, and every town has an insane asylum. But uh yeah, so it kind of really surprised me. Another thing I'll give this movie, other than, being somewhat original, is taking the time to build characters.
Yes, it did do that. And there's credit for that, but also like it did cause the movie to drag a bit.
Oh yeah, it's a very, very slow burn. Um, like hardly any kills happening in it until it gets to the party at the end. Like it's like the last 15 minutes. Like it just ramps up super fast. It's like they got that far into it and they're like, oh crap, we gotta like kill some people and have
Right.
something happen other than this party, and then it just goes crazy at the end.
Yeah, they tried doing it with the that frat mom and the professor.
Hmm.
But I don't know, they drew out the frat mom being killed a little bit longer, but it felt like filler. Like there wasn't really a lot there. There wasn't really a lot that kind of fed into the horror movie. Like it didn't give you a whole lot.
Yeah.
And so it just if that had been executed better, I think it would have helped the pacing a little bit more. Um, but yeah, I mean, well, we talk about plenty of movies that don't really start killing until the end for the most
Hmm.
part. I mean, we've seen Halloween be successful at that, and things of that nature. But yeah, I mean, that is a downside.
Yeah. Um, that's I noticed it a lot this time where it's like the movie just drags.
Hmm.
And I'm like, okay, is this ever gonna get to like the point here? And maybe I felt that way because I watched this kind of in like clips and segments.
Okay, I
Where
actually
I
split
started
it
off, I
into two.
watched like
Yeah.
yeah, I watched it in like three. I watched like half-hour segments basically because it's an hour and a half movie. And finished the end probably like an hour or so before we started recording.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah, I watched. I think it was about the first hour, maybe a little bit more. It was right before things started taking off in the at the final party.
Hmm.
So I kind of knew like, okay, stuff's about to get interesting. So I stopped it there, and then I had to come back the next day to finish it. So
Right. I will say that I feel like the acting is better than it really should be for a movie like this.
I was very impressed with Jennifer when she went all.
Oh yeah, she sold out like hard for sure.
Yeah,
She was
that.
going full for it. And I really liked the Vivia character.
Hmm.
I thought she was fun. She's kind of like a practical joker.
Yeah, she made me
Like,
think of Poison Ivy from Batman when
oh yeah,
Uma Thurman did it.
yep,
Yeah.
yeah. That's I don't know. She was just kind of a fun character, and then Phoebe was just kind of there.
Yeah.
They didn't really like flesh her character too much, and really any of the guys like they were kind of just there, other than Martin, the
Yeah.
nerdy kind of like creepo.
Hmm.
Yeah, that was really the only guy they built in this, which is kind of funny. This is more like focused on the girls and building their characters, which is also not normal for a slasher movie.
Yeah.
Usually, the only girl that they even uh plan out and have any depth to is the final girl.
Hmm. Well, speaking of character development too, on the end of the guys, I totally agree
Mm,
with you. They didn't really develop any of them, but something that I didn't pick up on until it felt like embarrassingly late was the two, I don't know, the two guys that basically they made the cliche frat guys. You know who I'm talking about? The big hefty guy and then the small scrawny nerdy guy
yeah,
who
yeah,
were always goofing off together. But when they were at the final party, they were dressed as bees
yeah,
because they did the prank with the bees.
yeah.
I was just like, it was, I felt so dumb. Like, it was probably like right before they got killed. And I was like, oh, they're bees because they did the prank with the bees.
Oh, that's why they did that.
Oh, that's why it's called that.
Oh man. Yeah, I swear I recognize those guys too. Maybe it's just they were just kind of cliche looking,
Hmm.
kind of dweeby side characters, I guess, that you would expect to see in movies, like this kind of starts off as. But
Yeah.
yeah, there was something about those guys that looked familiar to me, like Revenge of the Nerds or something.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah. Uh, man, Vivia's pranks, especially the one with the guillotine,
Hmm.
that was like super intense. And I'm like trying to figure out how she would have even done that.
Yeah, it was, I mean, they definitely helped her out with the camera work.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Um, but the one that I, the one, and they kind of, I feel like it was a little bit unfortunate that they revealed it so fast. But the one that impressed me, if and how she pulled it off, is when they dragged Jennifer down into the basement.
Hmm.
I was just like, oh, dang, dude, that like, I legit was just like, oh, this, here it comes. Like, she's being taken by this like evil spirit kind of thing. Here we go. And then the next scene, they reveal that it was just part of Vivia's prank. And I was like, oh, dude, like you had me
Mm.
believing there.
Yeah. You're like, oh.
Yeah, like if they should have filled it up a little. Honestly, they they should have probably started filling it in where the people upstairs started freaking out, and then they were like, then you cut to the basement and you find out that it's just part of the prank.
Yeah. Yeah, that
So
would have been more impactful for sure.
yeah,
Um, I guess I already talked about how the tone's kind of all over the place and it's a little bit slow. Another negative I had with this is that once we finally get to the kills, a lot of them are like off screen.
yeah.
It's like someone's getting ready to die and it cuts away.
Mm-hmm. Wait, did
Like
that?
that to me is always just kind of frustrating.
I just realized that oh man, I'm blanking on his name. The nerdy guy, was it Marty or
Yeah, it was Marty.
Martin? Yeah. Did did he die?
I don't think so.
He like jumped off screen with a girl that he was chasing while he was drunk, but then I don't think they showed either of them after that.
Yeah,
So I don't know that they really
he
communicated
just
if he died
left.
or not. Yeah. But I would totally agree with you that uh, I don't know if I would say that they tried rushing the end too much, or maybe they just deliberately did not put enough focus on the kills because I mean like yeah, let's face it, Killer Party, this is what the movie's supposed to be about, and killing everybody off screen is pretty uh oh what do I want to say, like
Lazy.
yeah, lazy is a good way to put it. So
I mean, they did show like a little bit of stuff. There's this movie called Scream, and it's from 1981. I covered on Slasher Quest. I think it was like one of the first ones I did. Uh, but that movie literally like shows nothing. There- It's a slasher movie, but you only see like a part of one kill, and all the
mm,
other ones are off screen.
oh
Yeah, there's like this one where an axe comes down and chops a guy's head off, but you only see it for like a fraction of the frame.
weird.
Yeah,
That
just
seems like something they would have done in like the 60s.
yeah, it's like I know it's a low budget thing. Like they didn't have the budget for the special effects,
True.
but I feel like with slasher movies, like you cut corners somewhere else and you have good kills,
Hmm.
and that's what gets people to watch them.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is definitely one that tried, and it, like I said, it built characters, and the story was a little lacking at times, but the acting was pretty solid.
Hmm.
And I mean, even if it was just like a frat movie, it was still pretty entertaining.
Yeah. I
I
I
mean,
will. Oh, not to cut you off, but I will like give it huge props for the end of the movie from when they find Jennifer
mhm,
up until the part like right before the cops show up.
yeah,
That I don't know what it is, like maybe 10 minutes.
hmm
Maybe it's 15. That was fantastic for a horror movie. Like they executed that so well. So yeah, they did. I mean, there were parts of this movie that they just hit a home run with. It
yeah.
was, but unfortunately, yeah, some of those other elements didn't hold up as well.
Well, in the end, it was kind of a interesting way to end it too, where it's
Hmm.
like they're fighting with Jennifer. Vivia's legs break, so she can't even get up to like fight. So Phoebe's like fighting her off with a piece of wood, and then she like spears Jennifer through the chest to kill her.
Hmm.
And then she goes to check on Vivia, and they're talking, and then all of a sudden, like Phoebe's possessed.
Yeah.
And then they put Vivia in the ambulance with her, and she's like screaming as the ambulance pulls away.
Yeah, which part of me kind of wants to poke some holes into that.
Yeah.
But like I don't care that much. Like that what here's the thing too, to kind of go off of my statement right before that. They if there is a most important part of a horror movie, it is absolutely the ending. So for the fact that they were able to be so successful at the end,
Hmm.
definitely is a big bonus for this movie. Because you can forget about how slow a movie is if the end entertains you enough and either shocks you enough, surprises you enough, those kind of things. But the one thing about the very end that really did bother me, like if they had fixed this, the end would have been like 5 stars, you know? When
Hmm.
the cops showed up, that was so awkward. Like they showed up and they were basically just kind of like acting like it was a normal Tuesday night and they got a call for an emergency.
Yeah,
Like
but
it,
move it along, nothing to see.
yeah, there wasn't any like horrific, like, oh my gosh, everybody's dead. Like, what is going on? Like, I don't know. It was unfortunate because I it stuck out to me. I made a note about it, and they got peaked so high, and then the cops showed up, and I was like, ah, dang it. So
Boom, boom, boom.
yeah,
Yeah, pretty much. I agree with you. I think that really the only other thing I have to touch base on is the music is awful.
the music in the fake intro where the band was playing in that drive-in,
Yeah.
I thought that was fun. I was just like,
Mhm.
okay, cool, like this is all right. But then after that, absolutely, everything was so bad. What were the
Like the
lyrics to
score
those?
was okay, but like
The
the
theme
actual
song?
songs in it were just bad.
Yeah, like was it like the best day or something?
Yeah, something like that.
Oh my gosh. And they kept singing it over and over.
Our best day, I don't remember exactly what it was, but I'm just like, I remember hearing it and laughing, and I'm like, that was just bad.
Yeah, that was I feel like somebody it totally would make me think of a vanity project. Like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, I'm good at singing. I'm gonna make it so that I'm the person who makes this song for this movie. No, don't do it. Don't ever do that.
Oh, yeah. I guess the music was slightly better than Champagne and Bullets,
Yes,
but I'd
I
rather listen to Shimmy Slide.
hmm.
Oh man. Anything else to add? You want me to get the trivia and facts?
Oh, looking over my notes real quick to make sure there wasn't an important one. Oh, one quick thing that I do have, I could save it to the end, but I'll mention it here. Um, how the movie was filmed, was really good.
Yeah.
They took some really nice creative opportunities. I think one that was relatively simplistic, but it was also just very menacing.
Hmm.
Was when I think it was Harrison was the guy who got his head chopped off.
Yeah.
Um, and so the guillotine dropped, and then they switched the camera view to looking up at the guillotine, and like it pulled up into the screen, and then it was covered
Yep.
in blood.
Yeah, and the blood was dripping off. Yeah, that was a good shot.
Yeah, so that was another successful part of this movie, that it wasn't just your boring, you know, side view of everything. They did take some creative freedoms, and in tandem with that, that kind of goes into the ending part where the girls are being chased by Jennifer. I mean,
Hmm.
they really went all out with that, with obviously like recreating part of the house and flipping it upside down or something,
Yeah.
where she's on the roof and or on the ceiling. So
Yeah. And
yeah,
climbing on the walls and everything like she's Spider-Man.
yeah. So definite props to creative execution for filming.
Hmm.
Yeah. But I think that's it then.
Rock. Oh yeah, one transition that I really liked is the one lady gets her head cut off And then like the next transition you see is someone like cutting up a sausage.
Oh yeah.
Like the next scene, it was pretty funny.
Hmm.
That was just some of the comedy coming through there. But
Yeah.
yeah. So trivia and facts. This film suffered severe cuts by the MPAA.
Hmm.
And as a result, most of the murders occur off screen and feature little to no gore or violence. Because of this, the filmmakers edited the film in such a way that the murders seem to happen immediately after each other in quick succession. When the film
Okay.
was originally shot, more time had passed between each murder, which included special effects and on screen violence. Ironically, the promotional material released feature, featured several shots of the excised death, including Pam getting skewered by a trident and Virgil with his hand chopped off.
Hmm.
Yeah, getting killed by a trident like it's Brick Tamlin.
Right. I
You
guess that
might want to lay low for a while because you're probably wanted for murder.
yeah. I guess that does make sense. I didn't think about that. But unfortunately, like sometimes, especially back then, it seems like there are a lot of movies that didn't take that into consideration and tried doing like an over the top filming of a kill and then kind of like a more mild version.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a bummer.
Yeah. Oh, so this movie was shot in October of '84 and it was shelved until '86. It received a limited theatrical release, um, and only made a unconfirmed total of $900 from 5 theaters.
$900?
Yeah, that's weird because I saw that it had a $681,000 box office. So
Hmm.
I'm not sure which one's right. And then it was released on VHS by Key Video.
Rock.
So when released in 1986, the title was changed from The April Fools to Killer Party because the distributors feel that it'd be confused with the film April Fool's Day, which was also from '86.
Hmm.
Um, it was also advertised as Fool's Night for a brief period after filming was completed.
Fool's Party would have maybe been not a bad idea, but I do think Killer Party worked out pretty well for them.
Yeah. So when Sherry Willis Birch originally auditioned, Vivia was a much smaller part of the script and the first character to die. When she won the role, she was surprised to see the script had been rewritten. Vivia's role expanded and her character made it to the finale.
No, rock.
Yeah. So it's a Canadian movie,
Hmm.
and it was filmed at University of Toronto, where part of the movie Urban Legend from 1998 was shot.
Hey.
Yeah. Barney Cohen wrote the script as a straightforward slasher, but the director, William Fruitt, wasn't particularly interested in making a violent horror film and infused more comedy into the script when filming. The film was subject to frequent rewrites during production, and the final product was much different than the original intended version.
Hmm.
So Sherry Willis Birch, who played Vivia, also played a naive sorority girl in another college set slasher movie, Final Exam from 1981,
Rock.
which is kind of a Halloween ripoff.
Hmm.
And I already mentioned that this movie, what I found, made $681,000 in the box office.
No budget information?
No.
No.
So grades, I pulled from IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes. There's only a Rotten Tomatoes audience score. There's not a critic one.
Oh, interesting. Okay. IMDb 5.7.
5.0.
Oh, all right. And then Rotten Tomato audience. 67.
37.
Oh, dang.
Kind of surprised.
Yeah. Well, I went first last time, so this is your week to go first.
Rock. I end up giving it a 4 out of 5 because I feel like it tries to do a lot more. It has more ambition than a lot of slashers, especially from, the mid to late 80s, which was a time where slasher movies were a lot more like creatively bankrupt.
Mm.
And it was just like, okay, let's just rip off Friday the 13th or Halloween again. Like where you got movies like Offerings, which was a complete and utter Halloween ripoff to the point where it used like a slightly tweaked theme from Halloween. But I feel like this one really tried with stuff. It feels different than a lot of slasher movies, and they took the time to build the characters, and you got like some cool characters that you can get behind. I mentioned I like the Vivia character, and I thought Jennifer was a good actress. Um, yeah, I mean it's definitely worth a watch in a movie that maybe not as many people are aware of.
Rock.
What about you?
I was right there around 4. I did wind up dipping to 3.5. As great as the ending was, um, the party as a whole was good, but the ending where it was just the three final girls was totally fantastic. And even with the hiccup of the police showing up and everything, I emphasize that more than, probably actually watching it impacts everything. But that portion of the movie being so small compared to everything else,
Hmm.
um, thankfully the movie progressively gets better because it started off so weird and so messed up. Like it almost was discouraging to or frustrating, I should say, at the beginning on just being like, I'm so confused, I don't know what's happening. And then
Right.
it went into like, okay, the story's making sense. I'm learning about these characters. You have that character development. You have some more fun with it, but it is extremely slow. So even with the highest highs, with as much of the mid to low tier items that were a part of this movie, I landed at a 3.5.
Rock. So next week we're gonna be covering a movie that was requested, and I actually got it right this time.
Yeah.
This was the movie that is requested by our listener Justin. Um, it is the movie Ravenous, which is one I haven't seen, so kind of looking forward to that. If you guys are liking the show, please subscribe and share. You can find us on social media. We're on pretty much every platform. A lot of new stuff going up on Facebook and Twitter, or not Twitter, TikTok. So check those out. If you guys are liking Horror Movie Month, go back and listen to some other episodes we had, especially from October, because we got tons of horror content for you guys. And come by next time, we're going to be talking about Ravenous. And until then, as always, be kind and rewind.
These are the